Gentlemen, welcome to Halloween Daily. Thanks so much for hanging out with us today.
Good to meet you, man.
Good to see you, brother. Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, I think you guys know, James, I know you know that we are big fans of witching season films and have been for a long time now. And I always look forward to a new project from you guys. And I've been looking forward to this one. He Never Left for a long time. And now it's finally here. And I just watched it last night for the first time. And I really had a blast with this. I think you guys both did a great job. And I like kind of the marriage of genres. It feels like you've got a bit of crime thriller here, but it's also a slasher, and a Halloween slasher at that, of course. So, can you let's start there? Can you talk a little bit about kind of the origin of this story and what made you realize that the key here is going to be marrying these two genres together? I felt a little from Dusk Till Dawn too, in like the crime and slasher there.
Sure. So the original script actually was more of just a thriller. It was during COVID. I was watching just a ton of movies, like all of us were, right? And I started to work on just this idea about this guy in a motel who couldn't leave. I just, that's kind of the classic setting. But it started to evolve when I talked to Mike Balliff. Because we were looking at if we were going to be able to make it, and I was working on different story elements. And most of what Gabriel goes through in the movie was pretty much what the original draft was, but we felt like there was just it was missing a vertebrae. It didn't have something to make it all functional. And so Mike had this idea. He's like, well, what if there was a moving into more of the genre films? What if we had a mass killer legend kind of as the background? And he just planted that seed, and I went back and just kind of sat on it for a few months and just started to rewrite it, and it just worked. Just worked in developing this story in a small town and setting this backdrop. Because I really wanted to go for kind of realism with the crime thriller stuff, and then the mass killer kind of just gave me uh, an interesting idea to just blend it all together. So it kind of just came together. I don't say naturally, but it fit so well, and I'd never seen anything like that. So it was kind of a fun challenge to piece that together.
Yeah, I really enjoy, like I said, kind of the crossing of genres there and some unexpected twists that we won't give away here. Colin, your performance, I mean, this is a very intense role, and your character is very on edge pretty much from the moment we see him throughout almost the whole thing. Even when he's kind of not on edge, he's still very intense in shooting and filming. Well, first of all, how long was the shoot for you guys? And did you have problems maintaining that intensity, or how did you maintain it in between takes, in between days? Because I mean, it's a constant level, and we're following in a like you said, a condensed space in a very condensed amount of time.
Well, I think if well, basically, yeah, I think the shooting schedule itself helped helped to
Okay.
facilitate that
Hmm.
because I mean, James, what, 5.5 days, maybe six for
It,
the motel stuff?
yeah, it was six in the motel. Then we did two other blocks after that, but the motel was shot in about 6 days.
Yeah, so I mean the blistering pace that you need to move in order to pull this thing off. I mean, it really was a bit of a minor miracle. So, just me as an actor, I don't just show up and then okay, let's rehearse and practice kind of thing. It doesn't serve the craft and what I'm trying to do, and it certainly doesn't help the movie. So, I mean, I spent at least a couple of months just working with things and breaking things down and working with James on the script and different beats, and certainly even with Jessica, my co-star. So we would just rehearse the snot out of this stuff. So when we showed up, the rails were greased, and we had a sense of, even if there were, I don't know, two, three different blocking scenarios to choose from, we made sure that all three were prepped and ready to go, and that we were flexible so we could think on the fly, because essentially so much of the work had already been done, at least in terms of the prep work. And then, of course, it's just go, 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 go. So I think, if anything, that kind of helped and catered to the frenetic energy of the piece. But what I really enjoyed about it Was here you have a character who's incredibly high strung. He's bouncing off the walls, but he doesn't end that way. And a lot of times you'll have a character will show up and they're just kind of a regular Joe, and then something happens to them.
Up, yeah.
Yeah, whereas anything, this was almost opposite to that. Here's a guy who's already in a manic, crazed state. He's on the run from the law. He's done something terrible, and his conscience and he's got to hang out in this motel room for 2-3 days, and life is not good. So it's almost, it was kind of neat that, when James and I were working on it, it was like, instead of two perfect strangers, say, going to hell and then meeting the devil, it's like, let's say they're already kind of in hell and then they just happen to end up at Satan's house, kind of thing. You know what I mean? So that's kind of how I saw it, and it was an incredible experience. I mean, it really, really was, and it was such a blur. And James will tell you, man, everybody drove home when it was finished. Mm-hmm. And they couldn't put their finger on what happened, but we all could feel it. Like that was something happened. Yeah. And, and again, there's still post and you got to put all this stuff together, but it felt like something happened there. And if these guys can put these pieces together and it might be okay, but I'll never forget the feeling driving home, and we all had it. It was like you just belong. You were just, I don't know, like a little hole opened up in the universe, and things just kind of synced up. And then it was over, and you're driving home, and it was like, I've never worked on a low budget indie like that. Then again, I've never worked on $100 million epic like that either. Sometimes you just kind of feel something, and it's like, wow, this was unique,
That's awesome. Well, your performance is awesome, and yeah, it's definitely an intense ride. Another thing I love about it, as you might imagine, is Halloween atmosphere, just overall, and that's something I love from all of the witching season productions over the years. You guys always kill it with the Halloween atmosphere. Can you talk a little bit about that? And you did it. You kept Halloween as a constant without traditional things like there's no trick or treating or there's no like big Halloween party scene or anything that you get in a lot of Halloween. And yet, even though it's not like essential to the plot, it is a constant theme in the movie throughout.
Yeah. So obviously Ballup is just a master of that visual style. He really gravitates toward the fall season because of the colors, because of just how everything looks. And we kind of thought that setting it, and that was part of the mass killer thing too. When he suggested that idea, we thought, well, why don't we set it in that season so that the genre that so many have come to love for the Halloween movies and things like that, right, will just kind of naturally be a backdrop for it. And so, it wasn't like traditional Halloween in the sense of, trick-or-treaters, kids, but we just felt that it, number one, enhanced the film as a genre piece, and paid tribute to things like, Michael Myers or Halloween and things like that, right? So those origin films. But it also just gives such a beautiful color palette and just an opportunity to make something visually more striking than it would have been. And again, all credit to Mike Ballup on that. He's always thinking in fall colors when he's doing his cinematography. And so it just meshed really well. And I just think it's a beautifully shot movie, and I'm really grateful to have his capabilities, because otherwise I don't think it would have quite reached the level that it did. So.
Yeah, I was gonna say I was blown away with the cinematography and just like you said, the colors and all. And obviously, it hits my sweet spot personally. But yeah, just as a film lover, it looks great. And of course, you guys introduced a new slasher, as you mentioned, Paleface in this. He's got a very unique look, and we won't get into his whole mythology, but there's layers of mythology there. And but as far as like the design and the look and the mask, can you talk just a little bit before we go about what went into that?
Sure. I just had some concept ideas. I drew some really, really bad sketches for our mask designer, Billy James of Open Grave Effects, our friend in the United Kingdom, who actually got to go to our international premiere because it was at Fright Fest right where he lived.
Nice.
And he met Colin in there at another festival too, so that all worked out. But I just gave him these photos, and I'd seen some of his work, and he always has these just nightmare fuel masks that he designs. I just gave him just a couple of rough ideas, and we just slowly went back and forth. Tweak this, smile, tweak that. I wanted something that would evoke different emotions depending on how you looked at it. So if it's on this side, it's frowning. On this side, it's smiling. Just so that, again, every shot with it, there's some unique visual that you can pull off. And he just took that concept and just went with it. And yeah, that final mask, I remember opening it, got it in the mail a couple months before we started shooting, and I just was, holy cow. I was like, this is really a cool design. So no, he definitely knocked it out of the park. I'm really proud of him for that.
Yeah, I dig it a lot. I'm sure it won't be long before we start seeing them out on Halloween and at conventions and all that.
That'd be awesome.
Now, before we let you go for our last minute or two here, every day is Halloween, and it is Halloween as we're recording this, and the film's going to be coming out right after Halloween, which I love, keeping the Halloween party going into November. Nothing wrong with that. That's right up our alley too. But on a personal level, what does Halloween mean to you guys? Do you celebrate? Do you look forward to it like we do?
Colin, you want to go first?
Yeah, no, first off, you were just making me laugh. I'd never thought about that, about the pale face mask. I mean, James, can you imagine, like, you see a 5, 6-year-old kid wearing the pale face mask? Oh my God. Well, look, but that's the wonder of it's the wonder of Halloween. It's the wonder of movies. It's the wonder of culture, and just how these things can get into the fabric. Yeah, come on. I love Halloween. I mean, especially for an actor, it's probably the actor's holiday. You don't even realize you're doing it when you're 4, 5, 6 years old, but you dress up and you pretend to be something, whether it be a fairy princess or a samurai or a monster or a cowboy or whatever it is. And I think it's the most theatrical of holidays, and I think it's a wonderful thing. People can just dress up and become something else for the night. There's nothing better,
Yeah, for me, it's that throwback to that time when everything was super simple, because a lot of people like Christmas or this or that, but Halloween was just like you go out and you're hanging out with your friends and you're running around getting free candy. I mean, it's just reminiscent of that simpler time we all long for. And just when everything was easy. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, and I guess if you would have told me 10 years ago, hey, you're going to mainly work on Halloween horror films for the next 10 years, I would have been surprised, but it just has become second nature for me. And it's always it's fun knowing that the things that we're working on get to help a younger generation experience, the things that I watched. I watched indie horror growing up too. And so just the hope that what we're doing might affect somebody else the way that I had things affect me, right? It's little things like that I think kind of do it for me.
Awesome. Well, you're definitely contributing to a special genre, a special niche of horror, and a niche of holiday horror, that being Halloween horror. And of course, that's a sweet spot for us. For our last minute, we always try to ask everybody, when we get the chance, your favorite Halloween costume that you've ever worn, and your favorite Halloween candy or treat.
Ooh, well, see, for me, I mean, every day for me at the office is Halloween.
Right.
Like, it really is. It genuinely is. I mean, I've often said, Shakespeare said all the world's a stage, and Colin Cunningham said, and the mall is the wardrobe department. So for me, every time I go to work, it's Halloween. I don't have to wait until October 31st. It's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So it's all good. How about you, James?
So for treat, I got to go with the Kit Kat Big Cat, man. Those giant ones. It's just the right amount of chocolate, and so I hunt those every. They're my kids' candy every year when they bring them home. And then costume, my favorite costume. My parents, I had a big family growing up, and so my parents had to put together a lot of costumes. So favorite's a hard one. Something that just came to mind is the year I wanted to be the Incredible Hulk. And my mom painted my face, put the green hands on, and I had a shirt, like a sweatshirt, and she just stuffed it full to try to make it look muscly. And I kept telling her, Mom, it's not going to work. They're not going to think I'm Hulk. Yeah, they will. And I remember knocking on doors, and every damn door, oh, it's Frankenstein. Oh, my God. I was so pissed off. Like, oh, my God.
It's better than, hey, look, it's Kermit the Frog. It's like,
Right.
Oh, man, that wasn't what I wanted to do.
Right.
Green something. Oh, congratulations. Oh, man, I was mad. Yeah, again, favorite one's a hard one. I'm just trying to think back, but that one sticks in my head just because that I always remember being mad about being mistaken for Frankenstein. So
Awesome. Great. Well, again, guys, I know you're busy today. I love the movie, and I know our audience is going to look forward to checking it out when it comes out. In just a couple weeks, as we're recording this, first week in November, it'll be out, and everybody can check it out. It's called He Never Left, and it's been great talking to you guys. And we just, of course, want to wish you both just a very, very happy Halloween.
Thank you very, very much, brother. Thank you.
I appreciate you.